This is your main menu after you log in to Process Organizer. Before you can start using Process Organizer on a daily basis, you must set up your company, your clients, and your office users and process servers. First, we're going to set up the company. Click Maintenance. After you click Maintenance, you'll see the main maintenance menu. Click Company Settings. These fields will all be blank, but we're going to start at field 1. This is going to be the name of your company. Put the name of your company here. If you want your tax ID to show up on your bills and statements, put it here. Otherwise, just leave it blank. Type of company, you can make this is a demo company, but it could be a detective agency, process serving company. Your state license, this will be on your billing and your ID cards and reports. The person in charge and his title, this is also used for the ID card. The email address that you want to use is the main email for the company. The first address line for the company. The second would be if you had an apartment or suite number. City, state, things are defaulted to US. Zip code, your phone number, and fax number. All these things will show up on your regular bills except for the person in charge and title. As you see, we have a logo set in this box. If you use a logo, that will be put on your invoices that you send out to your clients. So if you don't want to use it, you don't have to. Also, the logo will be on your IDs. To select the logo, just select the logo button, click on it, and then it will bring you to a directory. Pick if you're going to load it from your documents or your desktop, wherever you're going to bring in the file from, and then you would bring it here and then open it. There is a number of settings here. The first setting is the notes for your invoice. For example, information deemed reliable but not guaranteed, or thank you for your business. Next, your invoice terms. This is just telling people what your invoice terms are. Payable on receipt, 2% a month, 1%. You're not actually setting the interest here, you're just using that space. Your abode and substitute service notes. This is what appears on your abode and substitute affidavits. Once you set it here, it goes on all of those. You can change this to whatever you want it to be. Next, work order notes. This lets you customize your work order at the bottom to say what you want, that this is a work order if you're farming this out to another agency, or you have particular things you want your servers to do on every job, or someone to call if any problems. This will appear on every work order, and it goes here. Next, you have your affidavit certificate. If you are not using a notary, for example, Illinois has a state law that under penalties of perjury, you can sign your affidavits twice instead of having them notarized. This is where you'd put your affidavit certificate, and that will appear on every affidavit. Skip trace text. This is where you can put in all the different types of searches that you do when you perform a skip trace. Check the computerized database, check post office change of address, check with Secretary of State, whatever you want to do. Next, you're going to see 3 boxes for notary. First will be the notary signature line. Second, the notary public sworn and subscribed statement. And third, the date for the notary. Now, if you are not using a notary, or you are using a notary, you must set either the certificate or the notary here. Once that's done, go to Preferences. On the Preferences, you have a number of columns here, and we're going to go through them one by one. Your client search. For example, if we had the Brown Law Firm and partners, we could either search that by the exact name in the program or just a code. Let's say we call them the Brown. So we're setting this one to search by code. On the courts, we have in the Circuit Court of Cook County. If you were going to start searching it by court that way, you would have to type in the Circuit Court to get the drop-down menu. However, if you want to do it by code and you make it Cook, Illinois, this is where you'd search by code. Allow users to override search options themselves. You put yes, so each individual user can reset it as they want. The service date basis. When you get your jobs, you have to let your people know what date they have to be done by. In Illinois, we have return dates, which is the court date that either the person has to be in court, file an answer, or do a written answer to the charges in the complaint. So in this instance, we're using the return date, and that's a minus date, 6 days. If we do it from date received, let's say that we wanted to make it 6 days from the date received that they have to do it, that would make the last service date 6 days plus. So the job has 6 days from the date received to be completed. We're going to set it here to return date, which is 6 days minus the return date. Now, if you wanted a notary on your affidavits, you would put a check in the checkbox here, and that would override the penalties of perjury's certification and require a notary. Defaulting affidavits to all uppercase, as some servers type lowercase then uppercase or switch back and forth. You can make everything typed in appear as uppercase from here on everything. You can also do that on the individual affidavits. Next, you're going to put in your terms for your client billing. In this case, it's 2% per month, and that is going to be 0.02. If you wanted 1% per month, this is where you'd set it. Remember, it's set per month, not per year. Default terms, 30-day billing. The mileage rate, if you pay your server's mileage and you want to put in the government rate, currently is at 56 cents a mile. This is where it goes. The next box is the auto invoice date box. And what an auto invoice date box is, after a job's completed, the affidavits are signed and then scanned into the system. At 6 p.m., they will automatically be emailed to the clients that you have selected in the client setup for them to get them. Next, you're going to set your time zone. Then, over here is your GPS settings. We have this one set for 200 meters, which is about 1/8 of a mile. And that is, if the server is not within range of that, it will get a message that we're unable to lock his GPS coordinates because he's too far from the job. Next is the accuracy that we should let the phone be recognized at, and that is about a football field. GPS time limits. GPS time limits are, let's say that your server goes to a place at 12:15 and uses his phone app to put in the time 12:15, but he actually did the serve at 12:10. The server has the ability to go back in and change the time based on what limit you set, 30 minutes, 1 hour, however many minutes. Now, setting up your email. Reply to is what you're going to put your email address that you want anyone that's receiving an email from the system to reply to. Then you can also add a CC email. Next is the pre-job notification email. This is when a client sets up a job in the system and sends you the job electronically through the customer portal. This is where the email would go to let that person know, hey, a new job was just entered. If you do not want to use the process organizer email to send out your emails, you can use your own email, for example, Gmail, Hotmail, MSN, Comcast, whatever you want. You put in your host. You'll have to find out what your port is from your internet provider. You would put in your username, which would be your email, and your email's password, and then enable the SMTP. Finally, you have default charges. The default charges allow you to make up anything that you want to bill your clients on. This is the general setting for all clients. So you can have a bad address charge, delivery charge, skip trace, filing, rush. You can use any of these, or by clicking new, you can create any type of charge you want. For example, let's say court charge. And you would just hit save and close. That would create a court charge. And let's say that charge is going to be $75. Now, this gives you the ability then to have all these different types of options for billing. However, this will go to all clients. If you want to override them for a particular client, you would just go to override, pick the client that you want to override the charge, hit the edit button. You could then just select override the charge for them and make it $65. Now, let's say that you want to move the order that these are in. Just highlight it and use your arrow here, and you can move it anywhere you want, or you can remove a charge. Then you have your process serving charges, and same as before, you would click new and put in what you want to call your charges: general pay, local pay, whether you pay mileage or not, if you pay by a percentage. This is where you would set it up. You would set the new charge, name it, and apply the amounts here. Once you've done all these, save and close, and you now completed your customer setup.